Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is DMAC, and today I'm going to do my final part of my challenge lock build. Have a look at my previous videos for parts 1 and parts 2, and you'll see there that we selected a Euro cylinder from a little stash of Euro cylinders that I'd got off on eBay. Decided on one with reasonable bitting to make into a challenge lock. And the first video we made all the key pins, the second video all of these driver pins, and this challenge lock will be given away on my 100 subscribers giveaway, which is upcoming, which is fantastic. I appreciate all of the support, all of the subscribers, and yeah, just appreciate you guys watching, and glad I can make some content that's interesting for you to watch. I think currently my subscribers are almost at 200, which is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so anyway, let's get into just putting this one together. So the last thing to do, we've made all the pins. We're not making any modifications to the key, and in this case we're not making any modifications to the Bible. I have in the past pulled these plugs out. You can then use a tap like this one to thread these chambers all the way down, or you can also use various tools to undercut those chambers, and then you have to put the plugs back in and yeah, try and make it so it doesn't look like you've done anything to it, which is a bit tricky and perhaps a bit more involved for this video. Certainly not essential for a challenge lock, so I think in this case I'll leave that alone. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a couple of modifications to the core, and then hopefully assemble this lock and get him ready to go. So in the last video we discussed that in chambers 3 and 5 we're going to put threads using this tap down here, and in chamber 1 we are going to do an undercut, a deep undercut, to catch the lip of pin 1 that we made in the last video. So yeah, we'll get onto that. Just looking at this core, it does come standard with counter mill in there, so that will help us along. You certainly don't need to modify all of the chambers or any of the chambers if you don't want to, but yeah, we'll do some threading and undercuts, and I'll show you how I do that. So the threading, I've got this thread here. I think it's a 3.5 thread, 3.5 tap. I did modify this one quite heavily. It was there was one time I think I had a cylinder core and it had holes in the bottom. It was a rim cylinder, and in order to pass this tap through those holes and then thread the spring chambers in the Bible, I had to trim down this section, so it does look a bit destroyed, but yeah, works very well. And we're going to use it today just to do chambers 3 and 5. I've got this holder for it. It doesn't hold it very well, but it's a bit wobbly in there, but it does do the job. What I like to do, I've got a little shot glass here with just a little bit of oil in there. I've used vegetable oil. You can use whatever you like. I just grabbed this because it was the nearest thing to hand. I think that just a drop on the tap just helps to lubricate it as we're threading. We're not going to go too deep. We're only looking to serrate the first sort of 3 or 4 millimeters really. So yeah, we'll dip him in the oil, and I'll get a bit of tissue there just to wipe the excess off. We're just looking for firm. It will self-center as you put it in, but we're using lots of pressure really until it starts to bite. That's a bit wobbly to start with, but you can feel there after a couple of turns he's just winding in nicely. This is a hardened steel tap going into a brass core, so it's not asking it to do too much. So I think that's that one done. There we go, you can see the thread in there. Dip him in the oil again, and we'll go to chamber 6. Again, lots of pressure as we're pushing them together and turning, and it will self-center in that core hole. There we go. Couple of turns and that should do us. Just have a quick look at that. As you can see there, we've created a lot of rough edges inside, and we've also might have some rough edges on this core top. So I'm going to grab this diamond file, just very lightly get rid of any burrs that are on top there, because when the core turns, that will sort of snag and lead to the crunchiness that you do get with a lot of challenge locks. That's kind of unavoidable considering what we've done to all the pins. And I've got this circular diamond file as well, and I'm just going to gently scrub away the any sort of serrations in there that are kind of too fine. I think what can happen in my experience is when you put a heavily serrated pin into a threaded chamber, sometimes it can be cause too much of a problem and can jam up. As the key goes in, all the pins will lift one by one until it gets to the right position. If those key pins are jamming up on those threads that you've just created, the key's not going to want to go in. You're going to push it in. It's going to be not going to work properly. It will make picking very difficult, but I think with a challenge lock, they come with keys, and you should be able to operate them with a key just to show it's working. Certainly for peace of mind when you're picking it, sometimes it feels like you're getting nowhere, and perhaps the only way to know if a lock isn't jammed up is to use that key. So yeah, very lightly, I'm not getting rid of the serrations we've just put in, I'm just getting rid of the sharpness. So I'll grab one of those serrated pins, this was one for pin 3, just drop him in there. And there we go, he seems to work. Let's drop him into pin 1. Again, it seems to work smoothly. It's a little bit sticky there. I'm going to give pin chamber 3 just another quick go with a file, because we're looking for smooth operation. When you're picking it, you're putting a turning force on the core, and what that does is it will jam up that serrated key or driver pin with these serrations anyway. So as you can see, there's still plenty of meat on those serrations. Let's try them again. I think I put that pin in chamber 1 before. So yeah, he seems to work fine. We'll pop him into chamber 3 just to test there as well. And there we go, that works fine. And just pop him back. Just giving that core a bit of a blowout just to get rid of any swarf that's inside. And there we go, we've threaded chamber 6 and 3. So now we need to look at undercutting this chamber, and to do that we're going to use an engraving bit. So these come with a Dremel kit. We've got a rounded one and a square one. I'm going to use the square one there. We're going to fix that into the Dremel, go into chamber 1, and what we're looking to do is to go below the lip there, and sort of put like an internal shelf all the way around there. We don't want to make that hole any wider, but we want to make like an internal shelf in there, and that will catch this little lip here at the bottom on pin 1 hopefully, and that will cause, hopefully, whoever picks it might have to use counter rotation to get rid of that. That's the aim anyway. So let's pop this in the Dremel and make a little bit of noise for you. Bear with me. I find it easy. I've tried doing this with a drill press in my workshop. I find the easiest way to do this is by hand. I know a lot of people, when making pins as well, will clamp the Dremel in, but I find it just easier to use my hands. So I'm just going to get comfortable, get a feel for what I'm doing. Before I turn it on. So I'm going to try and get this in focus. I'm not going to be watching the camera, unfortunately. I've got to watch what I'm doing so I don't cut my fingers off or ruin this lock. So let's just pop this light on as well. There we go, that will help me see what I'm doing. Okay, let's give it a go. Okay, let's see what we've done there. So as you can see, the hole isn't any wider than when we started. And if I can just find a pick, just bear with me. See if we've got that lip that we needed there in one. So yeah, you can see there we've gone, and we've got that that little shelf in there. Let's grab our pin and just check that it locks in, which is the intention of that. There we go. So as get you in focus, so the pin will sit lower down here, and as you put turning force on the core, that spooled section will engage with that counter milling on both sides, and hopefully will cause problems and perhaps mean that you'll have to manually counter rotate in order to set this one. And if you do that, the other pins could fall down, and that's the idea behind that pin. So there we go. I think that's all of the modifications we need to do for now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my core stand there, zoom you in just a fraction, and we'll populate this, double check the key works, and then put the whole lock together. So that's pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And there we go. Those pins aren't going back down because I think there was a bit of oil or some sort of residue left in this core, but obviously we'll have the driver pins and the springs pressing down on these. But as you can see, the key goes in and out. All of the pins will clear and the core will turn. So yeah, he's ready to go back in. Zoom him out again. There we go. And we've got the core here. We haven't changed any springs. You can change springs as well if you wanted. So let's put 4 in first. And we're going to get in with the tapered and serrated sections pointing up. So some of these pins do have an orientation. It's important to get those in the right way around, otherwise they're not going to have the desired effect. Okay. Tricky to do on camera. It's probably why not many people assemble locks on camera. He's not going in. I think I may have mangled a spring. And I have that one there, mangled at the top. So let's see if I can't grab a spare. Try and get that in. There we go, he went in very nicely. Very easily. Yeah, very tricky to do this on camera, just bear with me. I know it's probably not in frame and not in focus, but It's the only way for me to try and get this together for you and show it all working. Very important we get this guy the right way around, because you can see there that's the section we want to bite into the counter mill in, and he needs to be pointing that way there, so that that will engage with the core, facing towards the core. So anyway, that's all of the pins in. Very important to use a shim with a challenge lock. I think it's good practice to use shims with most locks. Very cheap to get hold of, particularly because we've made modifications to these key pins. They're not standard anymore. They may well snag in this groove here. So let's try not to drop anything while we do this, and hopefully he'll go together and behave himself. Okay, there we go. Shim out, turn the lock into the locked position, and we'll just put this C-clip on the back. There we go, not too tight. So let's just get all this stuff out of the way. Well, there we go. That is one finished challenge lock. So we started out with a fresh donor material from one of these Yales, and this lock now operates perfectly. Some challenge locks can be very crunchy. That can be due to those threaded chambers just having rough edges, or the pins having rough edges. So it certainly helps to use some paper like this. So what grit is this? 1500 grit was the one that I was using. While the pins are in the Dremel chuck and you've done all your cutting, just to sort of get rid of all those rough edges. They look pretty, but they also help the lock to work really well. So there we go. The final thing to do is to add a tag and a name to this, and as I said in the last video, it'd be great if you guys could suggest a name. Pop it in the comments below, and when I do the draw and do the giveaway for this and all my other giveaway goodies, padlocks and such, perhaps we can name this one, and yeah, I'll just engrave. I usually put DMAC there and engrave the title on there and put the tag on, so I'll do all of that. But yeah, that's our challenge lock, and this will be going to one of my subscribers out there in YouTube land. And yeah, it'd be great if you'd enter that. All you need to do is upload a video of you picking your favorite lock to YouTube. It doesn't matter if it's an acrylic lock or an Assa Twin Combi or whatever it is, and just add the hashtag there, DMAC100, and I'll see the video and enter you into that giveaway draw. I'll put a link up there to subscribe so you don't miss that draw, and also perhaps a link over here to previous pin making videos in this series that I've done previously. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Best of luck in the giveaway.